Live from the Goldman Sachs Tech Conference in San Francisco. I'm here with Bill Gurley, venture capitalist, partner at Benchmark Capital, and investor in Uber, Stitch Fix, and more, and Selina Wang, our Bloomberg tech reporter. Bill, you just got off stage. And, one of the things that you are sounding the alarm about right now is that VCs, you say, are being too nice. Nobody wants to be a no man, but that's actually hurting the industry and hurting companies. What are you most worried about?
Well, I mean, this is something that's probably been going on gradually for like a 20-year period rather than something that just happened yesterday. If you go back in, years, decades ago in the venture industry, there were famous people who were known, like Don Valentine was known for like coming into a boardroom and demanding. The world was more oligopic back then, and that's the issue, right? Hyper competition has made it such that the majority of VC's biggest fear is missing out on the next investment. And so they're afraid to have a reputation as someone who asks too many questions or push too hard. And I think it's led to a situation where there's not a lot of stewardship for discipline and results and that kind of thing.
But what can be done about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky problem because the thing that led us here is this systematic competitive front.
Did that happen at Uber?
I didn't bring it up related to that. I think it's something that's when I talk to there's a lot of buy-side investors here who are increasingly reaching down into these private companies, and when they hear that, they're like, oh, that's what we just experienced. Like I think it's a broad-based problem.
And speaking of that environment of competition, we've seen this low interest rate environment fuel a lot of this capital. So how is the rate increase going to impact the VC industry?
Well, the smartest investors in the world tell you macro is impossible, and so I offer that caveat before I offer any commentary on that front. I think it's extremely likely, so high probability, that a lot of the issues that exist today in our industry and a lot of investment categories are due to this excessively low interest rates. Druckenmiller, just who's someone that's made a name in macro investing, says if you give Texas Oilmen the ability to drill holes with someone else's money, they'll drill as many as you possibly can. And so low interest rates drive speculation, and there's clearly more money in late stage available to these private companies than ever before. I mean, $500 billion private rounds was unthinkable. And so I don't know what changes it. The smart people would say that inflation's on the come and that's going to cause the Fed to raise. And it may not be a wall we want to actually look over. We'll see.
You mentioned on stage you've talked to Masa. SoftBank, is coming in now with a first look at deals, more money than anyone.
Yep.
Is that a concern for you? Is it boxing you and other VCs out?
Well, look, I think that one of the things I talk a lot about on stage is that it's a natural part of a company's evolution to eventually go public. And one of the things that I believe strongly that I think is less well understood is that being public actually helps the companies run better. It's an enforced discipline. These people are extremely smart to ask very provocative questions, and you have to be on your A game. I equate it to playing in the NFL versus college. The only risk the biggest risk I see is that if these massive amounts of money, which they're kind of already doing, delay that natural evolution. But here's how I look at it: like it or not, it's a reality. It's a reality we have to adapt to, and so we're spending time figuring out how to co-evolve. And we're always forced to play the game on the field. It's part of the game.
And Uber's financials just came out yesterday, and help us make sense of that huge spread between the GAAP net loss and the adjusted EBITDA, and are those losses ever going to go away?
Well, so one good thing is I switched the board seat with my partner, so I'm not actually involved in those things being distributed. So I'm further away, and I'm super excited about Dara and Barney and Tony and everyone and the things they're accomplishing, like with the Waymo thing. There are some really strong profit drivers, I think, at the high end of the market, some of the other geographies, and you're starting to hear the Uber Eats business is being very, very successful. And so I'm very optimistic. We got a great new team on board that know how to run profitable companies. It'll take some time. And you are forced to play this game on the field issue, right? Because there's still quite a bit of capital.
We're making that a t-shirt for you,
okay.
Bill. Uber Waymo settled.
Yep.
How do you feel about that, and what does it signify? Now they've avoided this long drawn out public trial. But how do you feel about sort of the new guard, and are you hopeful that there aren't more skeletons in the closet?
Look, I am super excited about where we are now versus where we were, and I think it's very clear from London, LATAM, Waymo, like the Dara starting to build up a track record of having put out these fires and attacked these problems. And so I don't know if there are more, there may be more, but I have a high degree of confidence that our probability of moving through them is way better than it was. And I think he's starting to earn credibility in that role.
And you're an investor in both Benchmark is in HackerOne and Uber. Did you know anything about the hack before
I did not.
Dar became CEO?
I did not.
And do you think that this is going to have an impact?
But both Uber and Martin from HackerOne spoke in front of the Senate last week and answered questions and went through all those details.
And on that point, do you think the developments here are going to impact how bug bounty programs are run?
It's possible. I think that people want to make sure that the structure and the systems that are set up are being used in the appropriate ways. And I think both Dar's made some comments and Martin's made some comments about if they could do it over again, they would change those. Those become new policies that get built into everyone's program. I still think it is as Sheryl Sandberg has said this, it is the very best way to protect yourself. It is the only offensive solution. Most of the security solutions are defensive, where you're just building a bigger and bigger dam and trying to hold people out. This is the most leveraged way to attack it.
I just wrote a whole book about improving diversity in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Katrina Lake, one of your founders, we tell her story, and you were one of her investors, and you said yes when a lot of other people said no. You've also hired Sarah Tavel at Benchmark.
Yeah.
What specifically are you doing at Benchmark to get more women on the Benchmark team and to improve diversity at your portfolio?
Well, I think there are a couple of trends that are super helpful in this regard. I think people like you sounding the alarm and raising awareness is super helpful, and what you've done is amazing, and all these people are talking about it, and it heightens people's attention to it. I also think that the other thing we can do is point out the progress a little bit more maybe than we have. If I look at all of our companies in the executive room, it's remarkably different today as a percentage than it was. Even in the boardroom, Katrina's employee base is majority women, executive team's majority women, board. It's an outlier, I know, but like it's a data point, and highlighting that data point can be successful. Just by happenstance, I think, and it relates to the progress that's being made. I sit on 4 boards where the women are founders. Nextdoor, Marco Polo, Katrina, and Heather with Solve Health. So things are happening, and I think it's continued attention from here's the problem, and then continued attention about progress. Because by drawing attention to the progress, you invite more people to try, which is helpful in the overall process.
All right, Bill Gurley, partner at Benchmark Capital. Thank you so much for joining us, and Selina Wang as well.
Selina.
Great to have you and to hear about what you guys are doing.